If Susan Collins of Maine is going to vote for this thing, we will probably know why very shortly. Talks right now that she was pushing to allow the SALT deduction. Of course, the Senate wasn't going to do that, the deduction for state local taxes. Remember, the Senate didn't even have the $10,000 provision where you could write up to $10,000 in your property taxes, just like the House measure. Turns out the Senate could have that, and that alone could clinch her vote. You take the yes vote now that it looks like we're going to get from Flake, the yes vote that it looks like we're going to get from Corker, the turnarounds by Senators Dane and Johnson on the whole business equitable tax treatment. There are yes votes now. Lankford from Oklahoma has been persuaded on deficit and other fair tax issues. Murkowski was already a yes. Of course, yesterday the big news, John McCain. This looks, Charlie Gasparino, to be a done deal.
And I'll tell you, I'm going to send a dozen roses to Susan Collins, just, for saving my SALT deduction. Thank God.
Yeah, part of it.
Oh, man.
Can you imagine her reaction?
I love that.
Charlie Gasparino. Charlie Gasparino.
I love that lady. Yeah. She's like she's the greatest senator
of all
time.
And by the way, not necessary in her state, not even an issue in her state.
No, it is. It's
a little
bit. But she's just such a wonderful woman and great, a paragon of our legislature.
Where are we going here? All right, so
I just want to say how much I love you, Susan.
So, on any other day, we'd be racing ahead on all of this news.
Yep.
Not today. What do you think of all the Flynn stuff?
Well, what's interesting is what I reported earlier today, that Trump has been telling friends of his, and I spoke with one of the friends that he told directly. Another one was relayed to his source, but very close, and it's 100% accurate. In recent days, as people saw this Flynn thing coming down, that he was going to cut some sort of deal with Mueller in the Russian probe, that Trump was actually telling people, by year end, I'm fine.
Did the president as well know that he was going to cut a deal?
I think everybody kind of knew it because it was in the water. But even as that was happening, he was telling people, and this is like the last couple of days, I'm fine. I've been told I was fine. Presumably, he was told by his lawyer, Ty Cobb.
But who would tell him that he's fine? You're a long way from that.
Who knows? But I will tell you this. This gives you an insight into Trump's mind. And, the president himself has been known to develop alternative realities to exist. Fake news that's real, and
That's the stuff that you report.
I didn't say that. I said it this way. I really didn't. The latest one was that he was that wasn't his voice on the Access Hollywood tape. He's been telling people.
Remember that.
So this is the type. It gives you an insight into his mind. Now, that said, I'm not saying that whatever the deal that Flynn cut, if you know this, market came back. Market came back, I think, for two reasons today. After it was down that on an ABC report that Flynn was ready to testify against Trump. The market came back because there's progress obviously on tax cuts, right? Even though we might not get the corporate tax cuts. So see where that ends up.
Very good point, by the way. We don't know the details or what got these votes to be yes.
And we don't know the details. So
we don't know whether there could be an alternate raise in taxes in the years ahead.
Right. And that would be problematic for the markets. And the other thing I think it came back is because it's pretty clear that the ABC report may be a little bit ahead of itself. That Flynn, if you look at the charging document, basically said he would cooperate against transition officials. Now, I guess theoretically, Trump was a transition official, but you would think if he had a deal specifically with the president, it'd be like in there. So,
well, I was listening to Judge Napolitano earlier on one of the shows, and he was saying, and I'm not a lawyer, but saying that he could have been facing, charges that could have landed him in jail if found guilty for 60 years.
Oh, that's true.
Ultimately,
on perjury,
right? That is at best a few months in prison.
Right.
So, what gets you to that point?
Well, it's usually
serving up the president
or someone really close to the president, and that's kind of how these things work. I've seen this on mob cases. I've covered a few of them. I've seen it on insider trading cases.
Covered mob cases.
Yeah, I worked for a guy that. I wasn't covering myself, if that's what you're saying. But insider trading cases, I've done a lot of those. You start in and you start wide, Manafort, the other guy that they got, and you start moving in, Flynn. And the word that you hear from people, just so you know, this is like speculation, I'm not saying it's true, is that the next one on the hit list is Jared Kushner, the son-in-law, because of some of his dealings, some of his work within the transition committee. If I made a bunch of calls just as the ABC thing came out, and I said, and these are people that are pretty tight with Steve Bannon and Trump, and I said, okay, does this mean the president is toast? And they're like, with the speculation among those people is that that Mueller is aiming for Jared before even the president. So this is not existential.
So there's volatility in the markets of the sell-up with Steve. I mean, the fear that I say the fear because no one likes the Constitution.
Right. I looked aside because I wanted to see what the markets are coming back now. It's only down 117.
But I'm not done answering.
I'm sorry.
Ask my question.
Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir.
that there are a lot of ways to interpret this going to the president, right? He could claim ignorance of the process as a candidate for president or president-elect, knowing that it's poor form, if not illegal, to be talking to your aides about talking to the Russians.
And by the way, it's not illegal to lie to the media, or else Trump would be in jail by now, right? Let's be clear. I mean, from all the stuff he says.
That's what Republicans are saying, defending him on these conversations that he apparently had to see where he stood on this investigation earlier on.
Right.
Saying he didn't know how that you don't do that.
Right.
I don't know how much.
Yes, and like I said, listen, President Obama lied when he said, if you want your insurance, you can keep it too. I mean, politicians lie all the time to the media. It's different.
But I think he thought that would be the case. I do.
I don't know. I just know that, from what I understand, the existential threat to the president is not in this indictment yet. It may come as a result of this indictment, but they're moving in, and it's Jared that a lot of people say he's got his bullseye on.
Real quickly, have you tried the peppermint latte yet?
You know, you have a fetish for this. Did you see? We got 20 hard, so we can't talk any sex and pumpkin spice lattes.